Welcome to Health and Harmony Beyond the Teeth, where we dive into all subjects that will help you become healthier and happier. As a dentist, I believe dentistry is more than just teeth. So I created this show to focus on overall health. We will hear from leading experts about eating better, exercising better, breathing better, and sleeping better. We want to help you create harmony in your life so you can live your life to the fullest. We want you to thrive. Hello, I'm Dr. Hal Stewart. Welcome to Health and Harmony Beyond the Teeth. It's great to have you guys here, and you're in for a great treat today. You know, I've always believed that we are given on this planet and in our bodies all the resources that we need to be healthy and to heal and to avoid sickness. And there's so many wonderful natural products out there that can do the same thing as synthetically derived pharmaceuticals. And I'm not here bashing pharmaceutical companies. There's a lot of life-saving drugs out there, people with really, really serious diseases that wouldn't be here if they didn't have these. But our bodies are capable, if given the opportunity, to be the best pharmacy that there is. And our guest today is Landis Felts, RDH. She's a registered dental hygienist. Landis has been practicing dental hygiene for several years, many years. We'll talk to her a little bit about that in a moment. But I have the great honor of having her as the hygienist in our clinic. And she worked in our clinic many years ago, took a break from hygiene to raise two wonderful, beautiful boys who are now young men. They're not boys anymore. And now she's back. And she brings with her a wealth of knowledge, not only about dental hygiene, but many, many other things. And she is a representative for Young Living. I don't know if that's the right word, but anyway, we'll talk more about that. But this, Landis, welcome today.
Thank you.
Glad
Thank you
that
for
you're
having
here.
me.
Just give me an overall, just a 50,000 foot view, and then we'll hone in a little bit about what your association with Young Living and what that's all about.
Okay, so I want to back up first and say that you're having all of these guests on here because our health is a mini spoked wheel, right?
Yep.
It takes many modalities. And that's exactly how I feel about pharmaceuticals and natural products and things like that. You know, whether it's chiropractic or craniosacral, or all of these people use their abilities in order to cause your body to be able to accomplish everything it needs to accomplish. And what pharmaceuticals do is help you when you cannot accomplish whatever it is within you. So,
well said.
So I am not a person that is here to bash anything either, because it all works together in harmony. There's not one perfect modality. It has to be in harmony. It has to work in all of these different ways.
Right.
So my experience with Young Living began now it's been about 8 years ago, and it's because I could not find a perfect modality to treat my son. And so I began using them as a retail customer because I was not interested at all in promoting and sharing and teaching. But with this, I ended up falling in love with something that I believe is what God created on the third day of creation. Yeah. And
let me clarify for our guests that don't know. Young Living is their main product. I guess you would say it. So it's much more than just a company that makes products. It's essential oils, which are derived from natural plants and herbs that come from the earth. And so when we're talking about Young Living, we're talking about a non-pharmaceutical medicine supplement way of life that will do many, if not all, the things that a lot of these pharmaceutical drugs will do. So I just wanted to clarify that. So,
yes. So they started out, Young Living started out as an essential oil company. That is exactly, and when you go and you look historically, essential oils have been used. I mean, if you will, frankincense and myrrh were given as the wise men. Now, did they come in cute little essential oil bottles? No, but those
We
products,
don't know that. Maybe they did.
no, those products have been around for years and years and years and years, and they are historically used, not just biblically, but if you study all of history around them, they've been used forever.
What did just to stop you here? What was frankincense and myrrh? We all know about the three wise men bringing frankincense and myrrh. What were those used for back in the day? Not that you were there, but with your research and study and your knowledge, I know you probably have an idea of what did they use it for back 2,000 years ago?
So in the Middle East, frankincense is known as the Swiss Army knife. It is good for so many different things. And so if you think about it, I mean, Mary had this baby in a manger. And, if you study history too, Jesus was probably about 2 years old by the time that the wise men got to him. But the myriad of things that they would need that would be able to cleanse, to heal, and to do all of those things, frankincense is used for. It's great for your skin. Myrrh is actually the most mentioned oil in the Bible. And it has a number of things that it does. There are some primary things that are in the Bible. But when you think about the story of Esther, when you think about anytime it says spices and ointments, you're going to go to essential oils. But Esther was prepared for King Nebuchadnezzar for a year with beauty treatments. It does not specify what the first 6 months were, but the second 6 months was myrrh. So she was being beautified all the time. But oils also have an emotional component to them that speak to us emotionally. I personally believe that we're a 3-part being. We're a spirit, soul, and body. And so essential oils have the ability to affect all of those parts and pieces. And what it does for emotional support, what myrrh does for emotional support, is it actually speaks to difficulty and fear of facing the world. So I think it's so awesome that God was like, okay, you don't know this yet, but you're getting ready to go in before the king unannounced. And could be beheaded instantly, but you're going to save your people. And he bathed her in essential oils, myrrh, for 6 months prior to that in order to uphold her emotionally. It's just a fascinating story.
Yeah.
So all sorts of different things.
Yeah, well, and it's like anything else. Anything that we put on our body or in our body has an effect on us, whether it's physiologically, whether it's psychologically, whether it's emotionally. So, I can go eat a greasy double cheeseburger, and that definitely has a physiological effect on me. But then there's also this emotional effect of, why did I just do that? Why didn't I have a couple of carrots and maybe a lean breast of chicken or a salmon? But the essential oils are not. They're not like a miracle drug that you can do whatever you want, but as long as you use these oils, you're going to be healthy. It's part of a system in the spokes that you talked about earlier.
Absolutely.
And I know there's a lot of them, and I'd be remiss if I didn't remember to tell you that we're going to have you back on in future episodes to actually talk about separate oils and what they're for. Today's more of an overview. Yes. So tell me, like, how you use oils in your everyday life. I know there's oils that you can put in your food. There's oils that you can digest. There's oils that you can clean your house. And there's oils probably for your pets too, right? There's oils for everything.
There is.
So how does one go about, well, first of all, how do you use it? I want you to tell our audience how one would go about learning how to do this, learning how to get this into their life.
So Young Living has been around more than 25 years. And 25 years ago, there was no way that you could have the number of resources we have today. There are so many classes and things that you can Google and so many different things that you can do. I own a desk reference that is specifically made for essential oils. And there's so much information even within that desk reference that you can learn. I use essential oils.
That's the same one you gave me, right?
It is. Yeah. It is. I wonder
of
how
good
many times
information.
yeah, I was going to say, I wonder how many times he's opened it. But anyway,
Several.
several. With that, I end up using essential oils really from the very beginning of my day to the very end of my day. Young Living has a number of products, including toiletries, personal care products, home cleansing products, just like you said. My makeup is also from Young Living. Young Living's approach to the world is very natural and very clean without using those pharmaceuticals, without using those toxic chemicals that we've created. And the original creation of them was great, but we didn't study long enough the side effects of those. So I apply essential oils. I drink essential oils. I put them in my water. I apply them to my face, but I also, if I'm, beginning to not feel well, I will boost myself with that. Something that you use is called inner defense. Mm-hmm. And that is literally to help you boost your immune system and keep you boosted all the time. So there are, really and truly, as many things as there are. I have a cat. That we have a personal.
We'll forgive you for that.
Yes. I have a cat that has begun being nervous in her elder age, and I very easily apply lavender to her. I put a drop of lavender in my hand, I rub it together, and then I just pet down her fur, and that will calm her down. And so it's amazing everything that you could use, anything from babies to the very aged.
That's great.
There's wonderful things.
Well, being an airway craniofacial development specialist, I do practice what I preach. So I do use a CPAP. Hopefully not for the rest of my life. I'm going to be going into a device to increase my airway non-surgically. But I put a couple of drops of lavender in my little water tank at night and put my CPAP on, and it really just helps calm and relax. It's wonderful.
That is the number one thing that lavender is known for.
Yeah.
Is the calming effect. But I also know that when my kids were small and they were running outside, they could fall down on their knee and abrade their skin, and I could turn right around and put that lavender on that in order to help cleanse that wound. And lavender is what's called the Swiss Army knife for North America. There are so many different things that it can be used for, but it's primarily known just for that, just for the calming effect. Kids that I homeschooled since my kids were old enough to go to school, and it was not uncommon for me to put a diffuser on the countertop and put some lavender and some cedar wood and some vetiver in there, just so that we had some calming air going on, and then that way they would inhale it and just kind of keep their behinds in the seat, if you will, in order to keep them focused.
Yeah.
So it's a great oil.
Well, and you mentioned diffuser at our office. Thanks to Landis, we have diffusers all throughout our office with different oils in them, and it not only does it create a really nice smell in the office and masks out your typical medical dental office. There's this smell of chemicals and formaldehyde and rubber gloves and all that stuff. It really is like you're going into a spa, and very relaxing. And we all know that, if we can do anything to relax us, that's going to help us deal with stress. It's going to help our bodies deal with stress, because stress does have a physical component as well as an emotional and a spiritual component. What are some oils or some regimes that you would do with oils to combat stress? Because we're all going to have stress.
Absolutely.
And again, an oil is not going to cure our stress. It's it's one of those tools we use. But what's the process of an oil or a combination of oils dealing with stress?
You can use essential oils 3 different ways. We've already mentioned you can use them topically, you can use them aromatically, and you can use them by ingestion, right? Okay, so the diffusing is obviously your aromatic way. Your feet are amazingly porous, which is why your mom didn't want you running around barefooted all the time. So you can actually apply, if let's say that you have an oil let's say you're not fond of lavender, which is not true, but let's say that you're not.
Right.
You can actually put that on the bottoms of your feet, and it has been known to circulate within your blood, and it's in your saliva within less than a minute.
Wow.
So
you put it on the bottom of your feet, and in less than a minute, there's traces of that in your saliva.
yes. So we're talking about circulation, we're talking about absorption, we're talking about bioavailability. And when we're talking about stress relieving things, we're talking about, for Young Living products, there is lavender, peace and calming. That's pretty obvious. Stress away. That is, and in Japan,
What that's for?
yeah, exactly. In Japan, stress away is called vanilla lime blendo. And it's because in Japan, there's no such word as stress.
Ah.
Isn't that interesting? So you can use that. Cedarwood was another one I mentioned. There are a number of different products that you can use just to help calm you down. And when we're going to talk about airway, we're talking about, one of the things that we're looking at is the number of breaths you take per minute. We're talking about whether or not you're nasal breathing versus your mouth breathing. We're talking about a number of things, and stress is created when you are not nasal breathing on your body. I mean, when you're not nasal breathing, you're mouth breathing, your body is signaling hyperventilation. That sends your adrenal glands into overload, and then you are constantly in fight or flight. So the simple act of using essential oils and taking it, and I've shown you how to do this, you put a drop in your hand, you rub it, and then you cup over your face and your mouth and your nose, and just inhaling. But when you have to inhale, you're already slowing down your breaths. You're not going, you're slowing your breath down.
Yeah.
And in doing so, that's going to help your body chemically shift. Everything in our body is done biochemically. So when you're putting off signals that you're in stress, your body is trying to compensate for that. But you can literally add a chemical, a natural, God-made chemical to your hand and inhale it. So you not only have the topical application, but you have the inhalation of it. That's the quickest way to get it in you. And you can begin to change the chemistry of your body, because you are inhaling something that's causing that to go, oh, it's not so bad after all. Oh, we're okay. All of those signals that you have within your body. It's actually very amazing how that works.
And what's really interesting to me, and what I think is fascinating, because we've been at the office before where I had, really bad sinus or a sore throat or, something, and Landis would go in her bag of tricks, and the next thing I know, she's hey, rub this on this and put this under your tongue. And the effects of these oils are unlike, a lot of the over-the-counter pharmaceuticals or even prescription drugs, where you take it and you've got to wait a little bit to see the effect. Like I think a sinus medication, you've got really bad sinus, you take something and maybe an hour or so later you start feeling it. A lot of these essential oils, because they absorb so quickly into your bloodstream, work almost instantaneously, which is amazing to me.
They do. Well, essential oils, all of them, and of course there's so many different essential oils because there's so many different plants.
Right.
But with those, they weigh 500 atomic mass units or less, or AMUs. So it takes 800 or less to cross the blood-brain barrier. So we're talking tiny, and that's the reason why you have that quick absorption. Pharmaceuticals start at the thousands in how much they weigh. And so you don't have that quick absorption. So if you consider 1 square inch, we're talking about 19,000 different endings of blood vessels, nerves, et cetera, and so on in 1 square inch, that it's immediately into your bloodstream. Whereas when you take a pharmaceutical, it has to bypass your GI tract. And it has to go through all of that in order to finally get into your bloodstream to work.
And with pharmaceuticals, there's, for every benefit, there's a side effect.
Absolutely.
There's literally no side effects with essential oils, right?
Yes. And again, part of that has to do with the weight. It's because when you have something that weighs, I read about an acid reflux drug not too long ago. The weight of it was 320,000 AMUs.
Wow.
And essential oils are 500.
Yeah.
Do you think that's going to do some destruction as it goes in and
Right.
out? It can't safely get into your cell and treat your cell because there's no way that can cross the cell membrane. So that's part of that. It's the efficacy of it. The other part of that is when you consider pharmaceuticals were actually derived from plants to begin with.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, so for instance, methyl salicylate is a compound that we commonly know today as aspirin. And so when you're looking at that, you're looking at a compound that science literally isolated and then made it synthetically, which of course makes it weigh so much more. There's all of these negative side effects with aspirin, right? Well, they isolated that from wintergreen. Wintergreen has all of the wonderful things in it that help counteract that negative portion. So when you take a compound and you isolate it, you're not bringing all these wonderful accoutrements, if you will,
Right.
with it to be able to counteract that.
Yeah.
And so if you consider that, okay, what would I use aspirin for? Okay. Am I able to use wintergreen? And I'm going to immediately tell you to use it topically. You know, whenever you have a car accident and you're sore all over, so or you've worked out and you have some temporary soreness in your joints, apply that wintergreen straight onto your knee or wherever it is that you're sore, and that effect that you talked about so quickly is going to be amazing. You're going to go, wow, that feels a lot better, and not very long with no negative side effect. If you need to put some more on in 30 more minutes, then put it on.
Yeah.
Versus this is the dosage and you can only have it once every so many hours.
Right. That's fascinating. You know, all essential oils are not created equal, right? Brands.
Absolutely.
I know from, being really focusing on health and wellness and for my patients as well as our patients as well as for myself, I take a certain amount of supplements, and I know that you can go to GNC or one of these supplement companies, and you can see 15 different brands of, say, vitamin D or vitamin C. One might be, $5 and one might be $30. And I know price doesn't always mean it's better,
Right.
but I know that there's a big, big difference in the way supplements are manufactured and how much you actually absorb, how much is actually just wasted, and that you just, you urinate that out your body and you don't use it. Why is, from what I've gathered from you, Young Living is like they're at the top.
Yeah.
Why are their products better than the other products? So are they more pure? Or is the way the plants are raised and farmed, or what?
So Young Living is considered the gold standard. It's really the first essential oil company. They pioneered it in the
Okay.
United States. Again, overseas, they've been using all of these things forever.
Right.
But number one, we own our own farms. That means that there's really three pillars. There's science, there's standards, and there's sourcing. And then within that, so scientifically, before any Young Living oil hits your bottle, okay, that bottle that you got, it goes through rigorous testing. And what it's doing is, let's say, for instance, that we wanted to harvest lavender because we own our own farms. So that also means there's no pesticides, there's no herbicides. Everything is done organically because when you consider in one 15 milliliter bottle of lemon, it takes 75 lemon peels to make that. We're talking about super concentrated.
Right.
So any pesticide or herbicide is very concentrated within that. I don't want to put that on me. I don't want to put that on my kids.
Right.
So when you're looking at that, we're talking about, okay, we want the most number of compounds that are going to help us. The way that I explain it to people is every different compound has a different job. Okay. And so let's say that you open a bottle and you test another brand's compounds. There may be only 20 or 30 compounds present. Whereas when you're testing Young Living, there's well over 150 compounds present. So do I want to purchase an oil that only is going to do 20 jobs for me or 150 jobs for me? They're very pure.
Yeah.
Also, there's a specific time that they harvest. So let's say the sun is just coming up. It's not the right time. Essential oils were made in plants as a natural healing defense system. Okay? And our bodies are so similar to plants to begin with. But when you have a natural defense system, they're going to raise when it's more likely that they're going to be eaten. That's going to be the heat of the day, and things like that. So they harvest they test it and they go, okay, we have the right number of compounds, and they'll harvest until the sun starts to wane, and that may be a 2-hour window, and then they go, oh, we don't have the right number of compounds. Yes, we could harvest this. Yeah. Yes, it's still a lavender essential oil, but does it have the most benefit when it doesn't have all of its compounds? No. That takes money. It takes people. It takes time. So, for instance, after you harvest, it sits out on the deck 23 hours, not 22,
not 24,
and not 24, 23 hours. Why? Because that essential oil is coming to the top to try to save that lavender. Well, obviously it can't, but it's coming to the top to do that.
That's when it's at its peak.
That's when it's at its peak. So they distill it at 23 hours.
Okay.
So things like that is what makes Young Living so different. I have been to the Mona farm, Mona, Utah, 6 different times. And it never ceases to amaze me the care that they go through to make sure. And they're harvesting, I grew up with my dad farming. We didn't harvest anything by hand. We had machines. Yeah. No, they're going
all
through and they're cutting by hand, because we don't want, some part of the plant that's not supposed to be in your lavender, or we don't want something else that may have strayed onto the property to be in your lavender. We want lavender to be lavender. So it's amazing. We also have partner farms, and all of those meet the same criteria. They have to be certified, and each crop that they bring to us, we test, and if it doesn't work, we reject it. And if it doesn't, they go through and they test and they test and they test. We'll use it for compost. So sometimes you have some pretty expensive compost because it didn't meet the standards.
Yeah.
That's what sets Young Living apart.
Sounds like it's a labor of love for them.
And absolutely. The other part is that we distill once. Meaning if you're steam distilling, you have a big vat that you put plant matter in. You boil water, and the steam is what brings those oil molecules to the top, and it goes through a condenser into a vat. Well, if there probably is more essential oil in that plant matter. So if we turn up the heat and we turn up the pressure, we could probably get more oil out, right? No, we get the fewer number of compounds. So we take all that, we use it for compost, and we put fresh plant matter in there. There are companies that distill
just recycling it.
Yes, that distill it as much as 6 times. And then they combine it all into one vat. And so you have the really good stuff at the beginning, and then you have this stuff that they're barely squeaking out at the end, and you're not getting the best oil you can. That's what makes Young Living different.
Well, I mean, it's amazing. I can't emphasize enough for our viewers. It's like anything else. Not all essential oils are created equally. Not all supplements are created equally. Not all food is created equally. Not all dentists are created equally.
That's what I was about to
say. You really do your research. And that's what I love about Landis. She doesn't do something unless she's researched it. She knows the history, what goes on behind the scenes, and she knows that in this particular case, she's getting the very best product that she can. All of us at the office are now using essential oils, and they are I don't even want to say a drug, because anything we put in our body for an effect is a drug, but they really are amazing. Landis is also a certified myofunctional therapist, and she uses her essential oils in her therapy with children and adults. Tell us a little bit. We don't have a lot of time left, but give us a little bit of introduction to myofunctional therapy, what it is, and how you use your oils in that treatment.
Okay, so orofacial myofunctional therapy is very similar to a physical therapist, but for your tongue in your lips, and your cheeks.
And why is that important?
Oh my
Having
goodness.
physical therapy for your tongue, lips, and cheek. Just a
If you never
the
utilized
Cliff Note version.
if you never utilized your arm properly, and yet you were going to need to do something exercise wise or need to do something bodybuilding wise that was going to enhance your life in some way, shape, or form, you can't just expect to go, well, I've had my arm my whole life and it's okay. You know, I'm doing it the way I'm supposed to. Well, not necessarily. The tongue is comprised of 7 muscles, as you well know, and we have all this facial musculature within this. And when you haven't been properly trained, and that literally means from infancy, properly trained to use your tongue, to use your cheeks properly. You know, there are a lot of people who use their tongue to chew. Last time I checked, we're supposed to use our teeth to chew, and our tongue is just supposed to throw back the food. So all of these malfunctions and dysfunction, if you will, we have to be retrained. You know, as a 51-year-old person, I go, okay, I've been doing this way my whole life, and yet it's not serving me well. Whenever you start using physical therapy for your face, and especially if you have had the habit of mouth breathing for years and years and years, you have to retrain yourself to breathe through your nose. I can be cutting vegetables, sitting there getting ready to fix dinner, and have my mouth open and go, oh my gosh, my mouth is open. Why is my mouth open? My nose should be open. But a lot of people have struggle with constant congestion, and there are many, many reasons for that. Essential oils help us to be able to clear some of that congestion, open up nasal passages, reduce inflammation within them, and then be able to utilize our nose and retrain ourselves to breathe the way that we're supposed to breathe and the way that God intended for us to breathe. You know,
So one of the purposes of or goals of an oral myofunctional therapist or therapy is to teach the patient how to breathe through their nose.
absolutely.
And that all has to do with tongue posture.
Absolutely. Because if you have 7 muscles that haven't been worked out the way that they should, or if they're tethered to the floor of the mouth, then it's simple. I like to quote Dr. Zoggy. It's simple plumbing. When your tongue is at the top of your mouth and it's in your palate, then what you're doing is that you have to breathe through your nose. When your low tongue posture is in the floor of your mouth, then you're going to breathe through your mouth. So it is training us to even involuntarily, subconsciously, have our tongue placed at the top of our palate, at the top of our mouth, and breathing through your nose 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's not and even when we exercise, which is a whole new area that they've begun to study about how improved exercise performance is, because you're utilizing your system the way that God created. You know, we have our natural filter, you know, we talk about air filters and changing this, is your nose. When we breathe through our mouth, we don't filter anything anymore.
Yep.
And so people go, oh, I have terrible sinuses. And then, so it begins to do this vicious cycle, right? Because now I'm congested and I have to breathe through my mouth. But when you were breathing through your mouth, that's possibly what caused your congestion to begin with.
Yeah.
Essential oils can be used to literally, like I said, decrease that congestion. And then when we're training, I mean, just like physical therapy, we're doing training sessions to teach you how to breathe through your nose. Then you don't have anything that's stopping you. You don't have the inhibition. You don't have the congestion. And there's just a number of things. Sometimes it can even be muscle soreness because you haven't worked out.
Yeah.
And you need to work out. And so when I started doing my own therapy, my throat muscles would be super sore. And we have some wonderful analgesics that within Young Living, just like I talked about the wintergreen. Apply that and put it on and make myself feel better. There's a number of ways that you can use them, but also to calm you.
Yeah.
Too.
Well, I know so many people being a TMJ specialist and cranial sacral development specialist that have, like, if they go to a party and they laugh a lot, their face just gets really sore. And those are muscles that are being used in the wrong way.
Yes.
And my oral myofunctional, I can't talk today, therapy it's not about making the muscle stronger. It's about creating a proper neuromuscular response.
Absolutely.
And having these muscles work in your favor and not against you.
Right.
And having oils as to supplement and help the healing and the soreness as you're going along just makes perfect sense, because this is treating a problem all naturally just by creating the proper neuromuscular response. But that doesn't mean that you don't still get sore and you still don't have those issues. And so a natural remedy for that would make perfect sense.
Absolutely. And even things like, you talked about me helping you with my bag of tricks, me helping you at the office. There are vitality blends of Young Living that are made for ingestion. They've been labeled for ingestion. So let's take a capsule of lemon, lavender, and peppermint vitalities from Young Living. So you're going to have a gastric response. You're going to have that clear. We could use some eucalyptus on your chest that can, in fact, help open up those airways as well. And then if you're sore from having your tongue, because we have you exercise, having your tongue put at the top of your mouth and you're not accustomed to having it there because of low tongue posture, then we have a way to be able to put it directly into your bloodstream right around your face in order to get to that area and treat that area the quickest.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's
really awesome.
That's great. Tongue up, lips closed, healthy breathing through the nose. That's what we say. Landis, it's been great. As we always do, we end with a song that you've chosen. What have you chosen today for us to hear?
So my song today is from David Crowder, or Crowder formerly.
Yeah.
It's called Good God Almighty. I listen to contemporary Christian music, and it is amazing with everything that we're learning about airway and all of the things that we're doing, how many times lungs, breath, just in general are mentioned. And now, of course, that my eyes have been open to it, it's all over the Word.
Yeah.
So this is it's got great beat, but it says, I'll be singing your...
Let's listen to it.
Okay.
And then you can expound.
Okay.
I can't count the times I've called your name some broken night, and you showed up and patched me up like you do every time. I get amnesia, I forget that you keep coming around. Yeah, ain't no way you ever let me down. Good God Almighty, I hope you find me praising your name no matter what comes. 'Cause I know where I'd be without your mercy. So I keep praising your name at the top of my lungs.
At the top of my lungs.
At the top of my lungs. So what we know is that we've got to get that old carbon dioxide out. We've got to bring in fresh oxygen. And what better way to do that than by singing, than by speaking? And when you're singing, you're holding a note perhaps longer. And so you have more exhalation. And so it's only doing your body good. You're slowing down your breathing.
Great advice. We're going to have Landis back with us because she is a wealth of knowledge, and I think it would be we'd be doing our listeners and viewers a disservice if we didn't have Landis back and maybe go through some specifics of what each one of these oils can do for us and how they could be utilized by any and everyone out there. So Landis, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been great, and have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday.
Yeah,
back at work.
Back at Monday.
Back at the old rock quarry. That's what we call it. No, I'm teasing. Anyway, this is Dr. Hal Stewart, and it's been another great episode of Health and Harmony Beyond the Teeth. We look forward to seeing you on our next broadcast. God bless and have a great day.